What will year 3 of the Tony Elliott era for Virginia look like? We're going to talk about it next, right here on the College Huddle. And joining us this evening on the College Huddle, it is my friends Jay and Jeff from the Cavalier Connection, our official Who's, I guess you could say, podcast on the College Huddle. Gentlemen, welcome this evening. Let's talk a little bit about Tony Elliott and the 2025 Virginia football season, my friends.
Yeah, excited to do it. We appreciate you having us on.
For sure.
Absolutely, you guys. I've watched you guys grow your channel, and I actually remember helping you make that little
right.
Cavalier over there.
Right.
Right here too.
That
We
you
got a
got
little
hats.
headgear now.
That's awesome, man. That's great. I love it. I love to see that, man. Repping that. What'll be great is someday you guys will go to the game and you'll see somebody wearing
There you
your
go.
merch. That's when you
Right.
know it's like officially made it. Officially
right.
made it. Well, guys, the question is, has Tony Elliott officially made it yet with the fan base, with this team? I was looking over the stats. I remember watching last year a little bit, talking with you guys before the season started last year. I remember watching, I think, one or two of the games last year. And Virginia seemed like to me a team that would play up sometimes as a competition, and then they would play down. And there wasn't a consistency there last year that I kind of anticipated in year 2. If you don't mind, let's start there. Kind of give me a rundown of what last year was like from your perspective, and then maybe let's transition that into how the offseason has gone for you guys and what last year did maybe positively or negatively in the offseason heading into 2025 this year for the Cavaliers. Jay, I'll start with you.
Sure. I mean, last year was actually, if you go back to early in the season, we got off to a really strong start. We started 4-1, but we knew when you looked at the back half of our schedule, it was just a murderer's row. We really felt like we needed to get to our 6 wins probably after our 7th game or so to realistically have a chance. And it's not often that a schedule plays out the way that you think it will. You don't, like Florida State last year. If you'd have played Florida State at the end of the, or really at any point in the year, they were much worse. But when we looked at our schedule, it was like, okay, we finished with like Notre Dame, Clemson, Virginia Tech. It was just it was a really tough road to hoe down the stretch. We had a lot of injuries, especially to the offensive line, and it was really crushing. Coach Elliott, to his credit, Coach Elliott really did a good job at holding the locker room together. Those guys, they play hard for him. To be quite honest, the talent was lacking. And there's some reasons for that. I think, when he came in for Bronco, he came into the hiring cycle late. So he really didn't get to recruit his first year. At the end of the first year, he had the tragic shooting. So then you've got to spend an entire offseason recruiting, and you're not just recruiting kids. You've got to convince parents that you can keep their kids safe. And that's a difficult problem to have when, you've just had what happened on campus. So, then you're fighting that. So like last year was really like the first year where it was like he kind of had a regular offseason. This offseason, I think, has been fantastic. We brought in, I think, around 34, 35 transfers. I think 247 had us as the 18th ranked transfer class in the country. So we've brought in a lot of talent. Chandler Morris is going to be the quarterback. We brought in entirely new offensive lines. We've added DBs, or 8 DBs just in the spring transfer portal season. And we're not talking guys that are coming up from, the D3, D2 level. We're talking guys that, played some meaningful football. So we got 2 guys that played the national championship. One of your guys, Mitchell Melton,
Yep.
and then the receiver from Notre Dame, Jaden Thomas. So I'm excited about what this season is going to look like.
Jeff, you want
Yeah.
to tag along on that?
I think Jay took all my points. Last year, exactly what Jay said. We needed to win. Probably, if we wanted to be bowl eligible, win 6 games, probably in our first 7 or 8 games with that back end of the schedule. But this season, if you look at the schedule, it's a much more winnable schedule, in my opinion. And actually, I was reading Phil Steele had actually ranked Virginia's schedule this season as the easiest in the ACC. So, pressure on Coach Elliott. I know he's on that hot seat. You feel like he's on that hot seat. We have,
Is he though? I mean, it's only year 3.
I don't know. It's been bad. I thought that maybe we should have made a move, or a lot of the fans thought we should have made a move at the offensive coordinator position.
But
And
he's going into year 4, I believe, is
yeah,
year
Is it year
4.
4?
yeah, year 4.
Okay.
Yeah, year 4. And
Um,
no
yeah.
move was made. And then also another point for this season is we did get an anonymous donor, which has made a world of difference. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Anonymous donor donated, we don't know a total amount to the football program, but Virginia and Coach Elliott spent the money. And like Jay said, the offensive line last year, the depth was an issue, bunch of injuries, and our quarterback was running for his life. And sometimes that was offensive line related, sometimes it was quarterback related. We were all excited last year for Anthony Calandria, who was a sophomore, and he really busted last year. And some of the sacks that we had were more quarterback sacks. He would be running and he would just run out of bounds 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. There's a sack. You can't go through games giving up 10 sacks and expect to win. But I think they addressed that offensive line with a lot of depth. Unfortunately, one of the guys they got in the portal, Monroe Mills, I think he was our top offensive line portal get, and he's out for the year already.
Mm.
So that sucks. But with the money that was spent, he spent it. And we actually interviewed on our channel Lo Davis, who's the one in charge of the VAF Foundation and
Cavs
NIL dollars. I'm sorry, what, Jay?
Cavs futures.
Futures, yeah. And he said that they've given Coach Elliott the money, and he's got the players to play in Charlotte this year. So, that'd be quite the turnaround, and we'd love to see it. He spent the money.
That's some high praise, man. That's that's really putting it out there. Let me ask you this question, guys. And just be as honest and bold as you like to be. I know sometimes it can get a little hairy when we ask these questions, but what's your view of Tony Elliott as a coach and as a person? And are they the same, or are they different? Sometimes you can really like the guy, but when it comes to the performance, maybe it's you're not as high on him, or vice versa. Your thoughts on him?
The performance. I mean, the performance hasn't been there, but man, I can speak. I'll let Jay speak for himself. We love the guy as the person, and it's almost like he was destined to be the head coach of this team, considering what happened with those the 3 young men that were shot, the way he handled that, and every player that we interview, every high school kid that we talk to, or a new recruit or commitment, they all speak so highly of him. And the one thing they always say is, "My mom loved him to death." And so if he wins moms over. And but we haven't got wins on the field. If I was in Coach Elliott's shoes, we were just talking about Des Kitchens, the offensive coordinator, and I was surprised he held on to him. Coach Elliott was the offensive coordinator at Clemson. It hasn't gone so well. I think I'd have to take the play calling over myself. Like, I feel like my job's on the line. If my job's on the line, I'm gonna go out there and do it myself. But I'm pulling for the guy really hard. I really want that guy to succeed. Jay, what thoughts
Yeah, I
on?
was gonna say a lot of the same thing. Tony Elliott, the human, is fantastic. Now, I will say, I think he came into a not a bad culture. Bronco left the team surprisingly. We talked to one of the kids recently that was on that team, and he said they got called in. It was pre-bowl preps, and all of a sudden, hey, I don't want to coach anymore. I want to go spend time with family. Now, the truth of the matter, that what we've heard over time, is that he was given an ultimatum. You can let your defensive coordinator go, rightly so, who was giving up 40 a game, or else. And so I think he just was a loyal guy. And it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. I kind of see the same thing with Tony Elliott, though, because Tony Elliott, the recruiter, Tony Elliott, the human, like, when he came in, he tore it to the nubs, and I criticized him for it at the time, because you had Brennan Armstrong, you had Dontavian Wicks, you had weapons, and you came in and basically, you want to build your, what he calls, the model program, and it looks a whole lot different than Coach Mendenhall's. So yes, Mendenhall was successful. Yes, he took us to an Orange Bowl. Yes, we had, bowl eligible 3 years in a row, I think. But it wasn't the way he wanted to do it. And I guess when you're building your program, you want to do it. You want to be there 20 years. You want to build it your way. So you got to start somewhere. But in today's college football, you just don't have that amount of time that it's taking. And so right now he finds himself in a winner out. We ran a poll on Twitter just yesterday. If you go 6-6, what happens? Because the expectation is we spent all this money. 7-5, most people feel like he's a definite lock to stay. At 5-7, most people feel like he's a definite lock to be gone. But at 6-6, what do you do? That's kind of the crux. And a lot of people, project us to be right on that 6-win line, potentially.
Yeah, the over under 6.5 last I
Yep,
looked.
Yeah.
it is.
You mentioned that he wanted to build the model program. What is that to him? Has he expressed that?
Well, to be honest, I think he has a book. I haven't read it, but I mean, he's like a lot of football guys. It's culture, doing it the right way. Being a student athlete is still a thing to him. He values, if you talk to these guys, one of the things that I think is great that they do is they set up mock job interviews for all these guys. They buy them, they get them suits. They teach them how to be an adult in the real world, which goes far beyond anything that most of them will ever see on the football field. The majority of our guys, yes, they can make it to the NFL from Virginia for sure. It happens every year almost, but the vast majority of the guys are going to be professionals in, a matter of months when they graduate. So teaching those guys life skills, but teaching them that the way you do, and this is one of the quotes that the guy said, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And I think Coach Elliott's just big on putting everything you got into what you're doing.
Interesting. Jeff, do you have anything to add to that as far as the model program that he's expressing there? I like that quote, by the way. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. I like that.
Yeah, no. He's just he always talks about character and building men, and if you look at all of Virginia sports, it seems like that's been like their mantra or whatever. When Tony Bennett was there, and the 5 pillars that he had. So Elliott came in with a similar, and even we have a new basketball coach now, Coach Odom. They all have similar, building men, and also when it's on the field and off the field. Um, and I mean, that's why we really like Coach Elliott, the human being, Coach Elliott, and I think that's why the moms love him to death, because they know when their kid gets to school there, he's going to look out for them. He's trying to build them into young men, and it's not all about the football. So we've even, this is NIL era, and we always talk to these recruits that have committed, and we talk to them about NIL and money, and a lot of them say, well, that really wasn't at the forefront for me, which is not very common in today's college sports. So I don't
And
know.
I'll say this too, Eric. When Jeff and I, thank you to the College Huddle banner, were able to sit in the press box, and ask
yeah.
Tony questions in the post game. And before that man came and gave his statement post game, and unfortunately, I only got to be in there after losses.
Same.
You could just see it. I mean, it ate him alive, and it meant so much. And so I know he wants it. I know he cares. And I really hope he can turn it around this year, because if he doesn't, I think next year is going to be a whole nother situation.
Indeed. Before we jump into the schedule and we take a closer look game by game at what he has to do to get to those 7+ wins that you guys are talking about, is Indiana soft?
Yes.
You all knew I was gonna go there. It was
Yeah.
the news of the day.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
We'll
get it.
take
And,
500,000
yep.
and probably add an Old Dominion or somebody ourselves. But
And then they added who? Kennesaw State or somebody?
Yeah.
yeah,
This coming from the head coach who gets on national media and talks about how they're going to kick everybody's butts, how that Ohio State, Michigan, and Purdue all suck, how that when they're going to go into the college football playoff and they're going to kick Notre Dame's butt, and then he doesn't even keep his word to play against Virginia
who
in a
he beat us at
non-conference game.
JMU. What, you can't beat us at Indiana, but you can beat us with JMU. I
Right.
mean, come on.
Yeah. Okay. So we're all in agreement. Okay,
Yep.
agreements. It's a soft move by Sig there.
Yeah.
I just thought it was. I thought I would throw that in for fun.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a look at the schedule here. And I know you guys probably can't see that, so if you need to pull open your schedule, although I'm sure you guys probably already have it memorized for the most part.
Yeah.
You open up the season at Scott Stadium in Charlottesville, Virginia, 6:00 p.m. Eastern on August 30th against Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers, which, by the way, I do have to admit, the Chanticleers might be my favorite Rooster character. I mean, if we're gonna rank all the different fighting roosters in college football, the Chanticleers, that's a good one.
They're up there.
They're up there. That's right. So that's how we're going to open the season in the non-conference there. A good non-conference team. This isn't William and Mary that you're going to be playing 2 weeks from then. So you have that, and then you do play the Washington State Cougars, former Pac-12 Washington State Cougars, although they're still flying that flag one more year before they become the Pac. What is it, 8 or 9? I think it is.
Yeah.
So that's another interesting game. So at least you're playing that way, but interesting non-conference there in those 3 games. Looking at that, obviously, I think as Virginia fans, you want to go 3-0. Do you guys think you're going to go 3-0 in those games, or is 2-1 acceptable?
I think we got to go 3-0 in those games.
Yeah, we 3-0 is we have to go 3-0 there, because our other non-conference game is actually NC State. Even
right.
though the conference foe, we're playing them as an out-of-conference game, so that's a tough one to throw on the schedule on the road. And I mean, you have to beat the only one that is, will be in, like, I'd be shocked if Coastal Carolina came into Scott on opening night and beat us. Last year, with what we had last year, we were able to basically, I mean, do what teams that are good do to us, and that's just grind us. I mean, we ran the ball for 250 yards or so in that game, and they really just couldn't stop us on the ground. William & Mary is William & Mary. It should be a win, 99 out of 100 times. Washington State's defense is so bad coming across country. I'd be shocked if we lost that. So I think 3-0 is a must.
Okay. Jeff, you're in agreement with that?
Oh yes, yes.
Okay. All right. So you guys 3-0 is expected, and you're kind of feeling confident about that against Washington State again coming across country. Although they're not the only one you guys are playing from the West Coast who's coming
Yep.
across the country. You
Yeah.
did mention NC State in there, splitting up the Coastal Carolina, William and Mary. I have not dug into them yet this offseason, NC State. So maybe you can help me out here. Is this a this is obviously a difficult football game. Is NC State up there as one of the perennial powers that people think are going to win the conference?
No, I don't think that. That's a tough opponent. NC State's got a good home field. That's going to be a tough game. I want to say Virginia's favored, as of now. I want to say they were heavy favored maybe in 3 games. And the NC State game was one I believe we were underdogs, maybe 2.5. Jay,
I
that
think it
sound
was
about
like
right?
6.5 when
Six
I
and a
said,
half NC
yeah.
State. There's like I want to say there's 6 games that we are either that we're favored in or we're like a push, and then we've got to win those games, and then if we want to win 7 or 8, and then we need to win a couple of those, like an NC State. Well, we got Stanford at home, Florida State at home. Florida State is not going to be the Florida State from last year, I'm sure. You can't see them doing that 2 years in a row.
That would be shocking.
Yeah. And so have they announced a game time for that one, Jay? Yeah, no, it's Friday night.
That's the Friday night, 7
That's a
o'clock.
Friday night game.
COVID.
So if we're ever that's the environment we need to be in to beat Florida State. Yeah, I don't think NC State's they're not a ACC powerhouse.
Doran is kind of on the hot seat too, from what I'm, heard. I think there's a lot of people in Raleigh that aren't happy with him, and I really like last year. We said Wake Forest at Wake early, which I think was week 2, was kind of a game that we had to have. I don't think NC State is a have to have game this year. But if we were to get that one, if you look at the schedule, it's Coastal, NC State. If you got that one, you got we think we're going to get Coastal. You're 2-0. William and Mary 3-0. Stanford at Virginia, we're going to be heavy favorites in that game. We supposedly maybe 4-0, and that brings a 4-0 Virginia team into a Friday night home game with Florida State, and you will see the place in all its glory, because a 4-0 night game with Florida State will bring out a really good crowd to Charlottesville. And Eric, you're old enough to probably remember when Charlottesville had, great crowds.
Sure.
And it's a rocket when it's got a good team. We've lost for so long. Our reputation has just gone by the wayside to what it is today. But when Jeff and I were growing up as teens, we had season tickets in the mid 90s, late 90s. That place was rocking. We had Texas coming in.
Michigan, Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn. Yeah. I mean, we were playing big teams and we were winning those games, not just playing them. And can Tony Elliott get us back to that point? The money is, I think, going to be put into the program to do it. But, you're dreaming as a Virginia fan to get to that Florida State game 4-0, and then you hope that the fans can get you over the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sets up an interesting scenario there. If you are 4-0 with Florida State coming in on a night game on a Friday night on ESPN, a nationally televised game where you're going to get people like myself who normally wouldn't be watching a Virginia game tuning in that night to watch that game. And so this would be from a recruiting, from a program building standpoint, a massive opportunity for Tony Elliott and for the program to take a giant step forward if indeed they can get to 4-0, play that game, and win that game, and go to 5-0 in front of a nationally televised audience. Not to mention, it builds a ton of momentum to not only reach your goal of going over 6.5, getting to 7 wins and maybe more, but in today's world that we live in, now you're setting yourself up to saying, okay, we got 7 more games. What's it going to take from there to not only go to a good bowl, but maybe position ourselves to be in the conversation to get to the playoff? Because if Kurt Signetti can take the Indiana Hoosiers, who don't want to play you guys,
That's right. That's right.
if he can take them to the playoff, I'm saying it can happen, right?
I've seen a couple postings out there. These are not UVA people. That clickbait says, "Could Virginia be this year's Indiana?"
Oh, okay. So, well, in Big Ten country, everybody's talking about Illinois being that team this year. They've got the most returning starters. They've got a decently lined up schedule. Most of their tough games are going to be at home, and a lot of people believe Illinois can be that Indiana from the Big Ten. Outside of that conference, though, if you're looking at the ACC, I think the question is, can you get 3? That's the question. And if that's the case, Jay and Jeff, can Virginia possibly be that 3rd? Let's continue on our journey here through the schedule to find out. At Louisville on October 4th, coming off of what could be a big win or big letdown against Florida State, depending on how that game goes. That could be an interesting one. Now, I've been to Louisville. It's an interesting place to play there in Papa John Stadium. It's an interesting community to try to get in and out of. I'll leave it at that. So, this one seems like a difficult game for you guys. Not gonna lie.
Yep, I agree. What are we? So we potentially could be sitting in at 5-0, or we could be 4-1 going into that game. And
Worst case, you're 3-2. I feel like.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah.
I think Louisville is the toughest game on the schedule, if I'm being honest. If I look at the whole schedule,
why is that, Jay? Why is that the toughest one?
Well, they've got a great coach in Brom. He's brought in the #1 transfer class, in the ACC. Outside, maybe Miami got him this year. I'm not sure, but he's always bringing in talent, and he's a good coach. I will say Virginia plays very well at Louisville. We had them beat in Louisville Elliott's first year. I believe it was Elliott's first year. And then middle of the 4th quarter, we had a young man go down and paralyzed on the field.
Oh, geez.
And from that point on, the game shifted. I think they scored 2 touchdowns in like the last 7 or 8 minutes. Ended up winning that game. Thankfully, that young man, he regained mobility. He came back, and but it was a very scary moment for those guys. And it was one of those situations where maybe you win that game. Maybe Elliott builds momentum, and we beat them in Louisville, I think the time before that. So we've played well in Louisville. Their crowd is not they're not an intimidating crowd. Even when they're good, they're not like a rowdy.
Not inside the stadium.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So I think we,
I'm speaking from experience as someone whose family are UK fans. Okay, that's where this is all coming from. Okay.
Understood.
It's a basketball school, but they're pretty good in football.
They would argue that they're both, and they would also say they're a pretty good baseball school too.
Yeah.
Bye week number 1 on October 11th. Then you come back home, and what I believe is homecoming for the Washington State Cougars. Again, we've already talked about that one. Then you go back on the road in the state of North Carolina again. This time you're taking on a legendary coach. You're going into Chapel Hill. You're taking on the Bill experience here. Chapel Bill, as they're calling it now. This feels like a game where North Carolina is so interesting to me. Is this going to be a horrible experiment that just blows up and burns to the ground incredibly fast, or is this going to be a slow build back to the top for Bill and then he hands it over to his son? which I think is kind of where his mindset is here a little bit, possibly. I feel like if Virginia's going to get them, they need to get them here on the road. They're down a little bit. They got hit by the portal, although they went and hit the portal hard themselves.
Yeah.
So they've got an entirely transitioned roster here. I feel like this is the game. If Tony Elliott's going to get them, he needs to get them here.
This game to me is, it's every year. This game is kind of a toss up, and you can kind of throw the records out. It is a rivalry game. Most people look at UNC as our second biggest rival behind Virginia Tech, and it might surprise you if you didn't know. We went to Chapel Hill as 20.5-point underdogs 2 years ago and beat Drake May and Marion Hampton in a night game on ESPN when they were undefeated, number 10 in the country.
I remember this game. Mm-hmm.
So it's one of them things where it's like, anything could happen. I think our roster is good enough to win there. Like you, I don't have a clue what to expect out of this team from Carolina. And, before that game, we'll definitely have to get on with the Hill brothers and have a
chat. two of my favorite humans on planet Earth, man. Those guys are fantastic. I love those guys. Yeah. That one will definitely have to. We'll have to put that one on the College Huddle channel as well. We'll have to make sure to get that over there so everybody can enjoy that there as well. Taking a look at the next one. This is an interesting 1 week later, November 1st. This is where you're going across country, all the way out to Berkeley. The Bears, the Cal Bears, again, they lost a ton to the transfer portal. They have a pretty good quarterback, know him well. Former Ohio State backup quarterback going out to Berkeley, gonna sling the ball out there. A former high 4-star quarterback.
Okay.
But again, I think Cal lost a ton in the transfer portal. They got raided hard after spring football. People aren't expecting a ton for them, but going across country now for this trip. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about that, Jeff. I'll go to you, man. Going across country, 3 time zones like this, man. Did you guys do that last year? And if so, how did that go? No, you didn't have to do that yet? Okay.
Yeah, basketball did, and it did not go well. But, I mean, I think this is one of those maybe 50-50 games. I know that Cal lost a lot of players, but us going across the country like that, and that's what week is that? That's the November 1st, so no bye in between. You just don't know what you're going to get. I don't know that there's a game time for that yet. So, yeah.
It's more than likely going to be probably a 7 p.m. Eastern kick, 4 o'clock out on their time, usually.
Right.
If it's a 1 o'clock kick, then you're going to get the 4 time slot here. So, but it'll be, it'll be interesting. Jay, any thoughts, man, on going out to the West Coast?
Yeah, I think it's one of those games that I'm going to give Coach Elliott, his props here. It's a business trip. I think he'll treat it as such. Now, honestly, the team has played better on the road under Elliott. So one of the things he talks about is, you got to start protecting Scott Stadium, which we haven't done. So, I mean, it's across country, but I'm hoping that we'll continue to play well on the road and then add in, playing well at home on top of it.
Yeah.
Yes, Jay said last year, I think I sat in the press box, 3 or 4 games. Every game I sat in the press box, I had to go into the press conference with a loss. That's tough. It's so quiet in there. You could hear a pin drop. You're like, oh, crap. Can I see one joyous? I mean, it was just terrible. We got to win at home. We can't put fans in the stands. And so what will cure that is winning games. So.
Next, protecting home. Let's do it. So you guys got to come back home again. So no bye here after the West Coast trip. I found that interesting that the ACC didn't give you the bye here, the second one. And now you have Wake Forest at home. This is a Wake Forest team. I just looked up the odds for them. They're at 7.5 wins this year.
Holy
betting odds.
I didn't realize they were that high.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. Of course, that's AI's view of it from pulling from several different websites. But um, interesting there. I did not expect Wake Forest to be that good. Um, is this a game that you guys thought you guys had as far as one of them marked, circled that you need to win here?
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna reach your goal, then you better beat Wake Forest at home. And again, I'll go back to last year in a down year where we won 5 games, where we dealt with just. I mean, I know everyone has injuries, but at one point, to give you an example of how bad it got, we had a 1st and goal at the 1 against North Carolina, and we went into shotgun to snap it, and bad things happened. We ended up, I don't know if we fumbled or bad snap they
It
fell. I
was
can't
taken
remember.
to the house. It was taken to the house the other way.
Yeah,
One
but
of
Coach
your
Elliott was
larger.
asked, why were you not in what they call the Grady bunch? We have a kid that comes in, he runs the tush push. His name's Grady Brosterhouse, and he said, well, with the center that we had to play, he was used to only doing shotgun snaps, so we didn't feel comfortable putting the ball under center. I'm like, that's to the point where we have a college center in the game, and we don't feel like he can snap the ball to the quarterback behind center. He's got to be in shotgun. So it got really bad, and I think with our depth this year, at this point in the year, I don't expect much from Wake Forest. And that, I always Jeff and we always like to joke. It matters when you play, who you play. Like Wake Forest, if you play them, week 2, they don't know that they're bad yet. And
Ah,
you get that really good effort. At this
okay.
point, they might be a 3 or 4 win team and kind of packing it in, getting ready to see where they're going in the portal. So,
Jay, are you laying money on the under there?
I would definitely
This
lay
is
money
like
on the under for
guaranteed
Wake
guaranteed
Forest.
money.
If it's 8.5, yes,
Maybe
I'm
seven and
with
a
it.
half. Seven and
Oh,
a half.
seven and a half. I'm
Seven.
still
Still
betting
laying it.
on that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, Jeff, I'm going to give you this next one. Next week, you go on the road to Durham, North Carolina. You're going to take on Duke Blue Devils. If this was a basketball game, sign me up for this thing between Virginia and Duke. But this is football, and so we'll see what Duke's got this year. They're at 6.5, by the way. Their win
so
total this year.
that
So
looks the same as us. So it looks like a toss up. We're at Duke. Duke football crowd is not anything to write home about. We Jay and I were at a Duke football game at Duke, and Virginia was trailing most of the game, and we hit a big play. I didn't say anything to anybody. I just stood up, raised my hands, and the guy, was talking trash to me, and he told me he used to play on the Duke football team. And I says, "That's supposed to impress me?" I mean, y'all have been terrible for years, but they've been a much better program in the more recent years. So, I mean, toss up, go to Duke. Just it's the dumpiest football field I've ever been to. Not a great home crowd, and we'll see. I don't know that that's one we have to win to get to 7, Jay.
No.
I mean,
I
I
mean,
think I can
you
lift it.
certainly want to win that
You
one, and
do
I mean, that's
momentum.
why, Eric, when you look at the schedule as we've gone through this, that article that Jeff referenced, I had seen that too, and it was like, if you want to lay crazy money and get crazy odds, and maybe you hit a long shot for a team to make the playoff. I mean, look at this schedule. I mean,
yeah,
if
I'm
Ohio State
so,
had the schedule, how confident would
so
you be that they were going to be
uh
12-0?
I probably would put my house on it.
Exactly.
Here we are trying to see if we can find 7 wins, Jay.
Uh,
The
this
most
is the
important game on the schedule is right after that, though.
Yes.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. So you get your second bye, and then it's rivalry week here, and you get it at home. You get the Hokies at home. All right, so for someone who I don't live in Virginia. Wasn't born in the state of Virginia. I remember I remember watching Virginia Tech, Michael Vick, all those classic teams when they were competing on the national scale. It's not the Virginia Tech of my childhood. Um, Other side of the coin, though, you guys, Virginia hasn't been the Virginia of our childhood either. Um, for someone who doesn't know Virginia Tech, explain to me what this rivalry is, what it's like, and what it means, and then on the backside of that, to piggyback off of that, how important is it to get this game for this season, for this coach, for this program?
Well, I was gonna mention real quick. Jay wrote the article. What if Virginia is 6-6 this year? What happens to Coach Elliott? And one of those questions is one of those 6 wins Virginia Tech? Because if one of those is Virginia Tech, you think he probably keeps his job. And unfortunately, we haven't had any success against Virginia Tech. And won in our last 20?
Yeah,
Jay?
yeah, and they're 19 out of the last 20 against us.
Mm.
I mean, I'll
So
say this, it means everything to me, and I know I can speak for Jeff on that. And it hasn't gone well in football, and it's we're the butt end of a lot of jokes, and we we live off of. I mean, we were playing around mocking up T-shirts and stuff, and one of the sayings that we came up with was, "We raise banners, not barns," because we have 35 whatever it is national championships across all sports. But they don't care about that, and a lot of fans don't care about that. We can beat you in baseball, we can beat you in men's basketball, cross country and lacrosse and whatever else, but you would almost trade all of that to get more football wins.
it pisses me off. It just pisses me off to
There
lose.
we go. Finally, Jeff. Come
I
on,
mean,
man. You're
it
talking to
does.
somebody who lives the rivalry between Ohio State and Michigan, man.
Yeah. And it just pisses you off to lose 19 of 20 games. It's ridiculous. There are seasons where we're a better team and they still beat us. The flukiest things will happen and we lose, and it's frustrating. And I hate Virginia Tech fans. We can't stand them. They talk more. Jay said, I know that they don't give a crap, but they haven't won a national title in anything. Nothing. It's crap.
Them
Virginia
and I
Tech
think
crap.
Kansas State are the only 2 major conference teams to never win a team championship or just a national championship in anything.
Right. And they're living all, and you would think Virginia Tech has been good for the last 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
but in reality, they're not the Michael Vick Virginia Tech team. They're living off of that Michael Vick Virginia Tech team, and they think there's something special, but they haven't been.
And
But
they
then,
live off Inner
unfortunately,
Sandman.
Inner
That's what they
Sandman
live
is what
off
they
of.
live off of. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, we just haven't beat them. And God knows that it's at home this year. We got to beat them. The last time, 2 years ago, we were at the game. It's brutal. Like it was a game I really thought we were going to win. The team had started looking good towards the back end of the year, or there was signs of improvement, and they beat the brakes off of us. And you got to sit in that stadium and just it's frustrating.
And
So
that was coming off of we beat a Duke team that was much improved the week before, and then you just they lay an egg. It's like whenever they lay an egg, it's against Virginia Tech.
yeah,
And they don't just beat us. They smoke cigar on our fields after when Beamer retired the year after that. They had or Beamer missed a game. I can't remember exactly the scenario, but one of their assistant coaches had to coach, and we were a favorite in the game, which is rare in itself. And they're out there smoking cigars, taking pictures at midfield after
yeah.
the game.
2 years ago, they were after the game taking team pick photos at midfield.
Yeah.
And like, where's the Virginia player? Somebody's got to come out there. A dog needs to come out there and handle business.
You need a Jack Sawyer to rip that flag away from him, huh?
That's right. That's right.
What we did was turn on the sprinklers.
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
But yeah.
Oh, I love rivalries, man.
Does
Does this rivalry have a name?
Commonwealth Cup.
Yeah, Commonwealth Cup.
Okay. So Virginia, the Commonwealth Cup. Got it. Perfect. Excellent. All right, guys. I got one more question, well, 2 more questions before we get you out of here. This has been a fun interview. I love learning so much about other programs and other things like that. I've talked to Florida State when it comes to this. I've talked to a few other people from the BYU guy who lives, I think, in the state of Virginia,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
has done a really good job of following the ACC story from a whole. I want to present a hypothetical to you guys, um, and get your impression here. It's the year 2030. The ACC is no longer. Um, the SEC and the Big Ten both come knocking on your door, and they want Virginia to join the conference, their conference. The athletic director, whoever that might be for Virginia, I don't know who he is, but or she, they call up the Cavalier Connection because they need your opinion, because they're like, guys, we don't want to make the wrong decision here, so we're going to get you guys involved. Where are you telling them Virginia needs to go and why?
Jeff, you want to go or you want me to go?
Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
Well, for me, it's pretty easy. I want to go to the Big Ten.
That's my boy.
I want, for one, I want to play Maryland regularly again. I think that was a big rivalry game for us, and it can be again. And I think academically we fit in better with the schools in the Big Ten. I think there are the SEC is they have their own thing, but the Big Ten does have uh, a Purdue in football, who I think we'd be somewhere kind of similar with. We could have years where we're really good, or we could have years where we're not as good. But a lot of those teams, Illinois, Wisconsin, we've played in the past, and there's just a lot of good teams out there that I think we would be a better fit with to play.
I think you're right. I think we are a better fit in the Big Ten, and academically, I agree. A little more better fit academically as well. I hear what you're saying, Jay. I don't have a strong opinion either way.
Really?
So
I
really
thought you were
don't.
going to say, but I
No,
want to
I
go to
really
the
wasn't.
SEC.
I really wasn't. As a football team, I don't know. And if in 2030 and the ACC's gone, there's going to be additional team. I think we're going to just the Big Ten and the SEC anyway. So those conferences are going to look very different if that happens. I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion either way.
Okay. I got a follow up to that. But in my opinion, you guys mentioned some teams who you're similar. I feel like Virginia is Michigan State. Strong basketball program. Maybe every 4 to 5 years, you build up a football team that can compete for a conference championship, which is what Michigan State tends to do. They'll build up, and then they'll have a really good year where they knock off of Michigan and they scare the bejeebus out of Ohio State. And Michigan, a lot of people don't know this. When Urban Meyer was at Ohio State, Michigan State was the thorn in his side. He beat everybody else but Michigan State. That's the team he struggled with. D'Antonio had his number.
Yeah.
And so he just beat him with trestle ball. But I digress. That's to me very similar as far as athletically to what I see when it comes to basketball and football is Virginia, or excuse me, is Michigan State. All right, here's my follow-up question. Oftentimes, when these conference realignments happen, they come in pairs. Who's the other school coming with you to the Big Ten from the ACC then?
I don't think it's Virginia Tech.
Mm.
Who do you want, or who would we actually think would be the
Who
take?
Duke?
who
You think?
who do you think it would be, and then who do you want? Yeah, give me both.
Okay. I think it would be UNC. I think they're a team that everybody would love to have. I mean, they compete in all three major sports. Good facilities, good academics, good fan base. Who I would want is I want to keep playing Virginia Tech because I want to beat them.
Yeah.
If you can imagine living in a world where you didn't get to play Michigan,
Yeah.
that would suck.
Mhm.
I want to, even though they beat us every year, I think that this could be the one where we get them, and then it is really sweet when you do get it finally. 2019, it felt like it felt like a weight had been. You remember when Steve Young won his first Super Bowl and he took the monkey off his back?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It felt like that. I mean, Jeff's son what, 19, Jeff?
He'll be 19 in a couple
And
weeks.
at one point we had we had as many national championships in basketball as we had beaten Tech in his life. So
But the tide can turn.
that's right.
We had some success a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I want Virginia Tech to join as well. I do want them right there with us. I mean, Carolina's, yeah. I feel like I've seen Carolina maybe a SEC school, but I don't know.
That seems to be the rumor.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like to me that what. Let me ask you this: would you be upset if Clemson came along with you?
No, I like Clemson.
Yeah, I don't have
They're one of the schools I don't really have a problem with. I like Dabo. I like the way he does. I like the way he runs the program. I think he's a good guy. I think sometimes in college sports there's not enough of those guys. So no problems with Dabo.
Okay, it's going to be really interesting because I think you hear North Carolina and Virginia mentioned a lot.
Yeah.
When it comes to the who's who would want who and why. And I think one of the reasons why the Big Ten and Virginia make a ton of sense, and you mentioned them, Jay, the academics with that. One of the things that a lot of people, when they look at this, they fail to think about is the AAU status and what that means in government-funded research projects for the medical universities, which really drives the decisions that are being made from a high-end presidential academic standard when it comes to these things. The athletic directors and us talking heads can talk about football all we want, but at the end of the day, it's those Big Ten presidents who make that decision. And they're not going to bring on anybody who doesn't make sense to them in making sure that they can further what they're doing from a research standpoint medically. And so it's one of the reasons why I think all the talk about Florida State and Miami and Clemson and these things, at the end of the day, I am confident that the Big Ten is going to want North Carolina and Virginia. Those to them, to the Big Ten, those are the schools that make the most sense to them, more so than Florida State and Clemson does. Where the SEC strictly like, who can we bring into our our footprint, in the South here, is kind of their perspective of it. Very interesting, guys. One last question. This is the final question I ask everybody. I think I might know the answer to this. If I were to go to a Virginia football game and I'm not wearing any of my Ohio State stuff or anything, and I want to fit in, and is there a chant? Is there some kind of hand sign? I know. Is it "Go Hoos"? Is it simply what it is? Is it just someone yells out and they see another Virginia fan walking? Hey, "Go Hoos"? Is that what it is?
I was in Pennsylvania a few weeks ago in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, a random
Amish country, huh?
store, random Amish store, and I had a Virginia hat on or something, and somebody from a distance all of a sudden yelled, "Go Hoos!"
All right, that's what I
would
thought.
be it.
That's what I thought it was. Yeah. Okay, so
now if you're going to come to one, you need to learn the good old song. I won't sing it for you. But
Jay, you sure you don't want to sing that for the listening audience?
Yeah, I don't want to sing it, but
the good old song. So that's my first Google search here as soon as we get done recording. Virginia good old song. Okay.
Just picture New Year's Eve. That's the tune. The tune is New Year's Eve. When the
ball drops.
Strikes, when the ball drops.
Okay.
With just some words to it.
I got you, boys. I'll be looking into that. Thank you much. All right, Jeff, Jay, tell everybody where they can catch the Cavalier Connection, and tell everybody a little bit about what you guys do, man.
Yeah. Well, first, we have a website up and going too, thecavalierconnection.com. You can go on there, and we've got articles. Our episodes are on there, as well as on the College Huddle website. All of our episodes are there. YouTube at the Cavalier Connection. Jay, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. Twitter, Talk UVA Sports, or X, whatever that one's called now. Facebook, the Cavalier Connection.
Yep.
We're on Instagram.
I don't know all those handles, but
Instagram. What else are we on, Jay? Instagram and
TikTok, Instagram. We're all over the place, Eric. We're all over the place. If they find us, in one, they probably find us in another.
If you go to CavalierConnection.com, there's a link to all of them. So
Yeah.
just
There you go.
go there and you can click the link. He'll take you to all of it.
Excellent. Make sure you guys do that, everybody. Jeff, Jay, appreciate the time, my friends. Really looking forward to that Friday night game between the Cavaliers and the Seminoles. I'll be tuning in for that one for sure. And of course, I'll be really interested to catch how the season goes for you guys. Be rooting for you guys. Appreciate you so much
Appreciate it.
for you
Thanks
guys
for having
joining
me.
me. We'll do this again, man. We will catch up later this season. Until then, everybody, make sure you like the channel, subscribe if you haven't already. Go check out their channel. Do the same over there. Leave us a comment down in the comment section below. Jeff and Jay, myself, we want to know what you think about what we think. So let us know in the comment section below. And of course, everybody, till next time, go Hoos!
Go
Who's?